Hi everyone, this is Blake Lansing and this is the week 4 discussion post. My first takeaway that I got was from the video The Power of Vulnerability by Brené Brown. And the most powerful thing that I heard within this video was that people who have a strong sense of love and belonging feel worthy of love and belonging. And I thought this was a very interesting thing because we live in a society where a lot of people base their worthiness on the approval of others, and she's implying that that shouldn't probably be the case because people that have a happy, healthy life are not taking their worthiness from others. She also talks about how these people have a sense of courage to be imperfect, compassion to be kind to themselves first, and others next. And I thought this was a powerful piece because if you're not kind to yourself first, how can you be kind to others? And connection as a result of authenticity, and I thought this was powerful. And most importantly, these people embraced vulnerability. And I think by applying all these qualities that she saw in the people that feel worthy will lead to people feeling happier and healthier in their lives. My second takeaway that stood out to me was the 10 ways to have a better conversation. And this video stood out to me a lot because I feel like anymore it is really hard to have a good conversation with people because you just can't keep a conversation going. She talks about how it's easier for us nowadays to have a conversation with a so-called friend over text rather than actually having a conversation in person. And I think this is so sad because I gain my most information and I learn the most things from the most engaging conversations that I've had. And because I understand this, I've been weaning myself more and more off my phone and letting myself be more in the present. And I've found that my life is so much more fulfilling when I've done that. And my final takeaway is the idea of changing cultural competence to cultural humility. And I believe cultural competence is great in a way because it allows people to understand cultures a little better. But it's a problem because there are many people within these cultures and you can't label them as one thing. And in turn, it just doesn't work. And then if we stick to what we've read in the books of our classes, we will we won't be able to build strong relationships because of the biases that we have seen within. But if we can self-reflect on these biases and try to embrace and appreciate the world around us, it will lead to a more positive outcome. My understanding now, after this week's learning of cultural humility, is that cultural humility is a process of openness, self-awareness, absence of ego, engagement, and supportive interaction with others, and critical self-reflection and critique. Such attributes facilitate mutual empowerment, strong and honest work relationships, respect, optimal care, and lifelong learning. And this isn't my definition, but I thought this was a good understanding of what cultural humility entails. And one action that reveals cultural humility to me is really looking to culture and not just what's on the surface in order to create strong relationships with people, as well as finding ways in which you can apply certain parts of different cultures into your own life. And I believe an open mind is needed to do so, or this cannot be completed without, and it also can't be completed without looking at your own background and situation beforehand, because you have to understand where you've come from and what influences you in order to really understand what influences other people. One way that I can recognize and develop cultural humility in myself is to be more aware of my personal biases that I have in my life and be more aware of the influences that I have in my life, because I feel like it's very easy for people to not necessarily understand where they come from and that they are who they are based off of how they've grown up and influences that they've had. And I think I've had the idea of cultural competency my entire life because it's what I've grown up learning until just recently. Um, I think I have experienced genuine cultural humility through just coming to college and doing some of my classes. I really enjoyed getting to know people from all across, like, the United States, and a few people from across the world, which is really cool. Um, um, my friend group, we have very similar cultural backgrounds, but it's very interesting to see how different we actually are based off of the little things that differ in our cultures. And it's really given me a perspective of how much actually goes into um, our culture and the influences of who we are and what we do. Um, Cultural humility can benefit me and others because it allows me to reflect on who I am and what defines me as a person, which is good in helping me become a better person and create better relationships because I'm happier with the influences in my life. Like, by reflecting, I'm able to take out the negatives that I don't necessarily want to define me, and in turn, I'm just a lot better person. And then I can't think of a specific time that I've been vulnerable because I've learned to embrace my vulnerability based off of my experiences of my past. I have gone through some hard times and was often scared to tell people about it because I have the mentality that I don't want to be known as a victim, and I still don't prefer to talk about them just because of that mentality. Um, but I don't hide it anymore if someone asks. I've been known to be an open book and very honest, and I think that's led me to build stronger relationships that are more authentic. I think a teacher who models cultural humility and vulnerability will positively affect the classroom because I think leading by example is very true, especially in teaching, because students are likely to catch on to your ways and implement them into their own lives. So, by having these two qualities within a teacher, it creates a more positive relationship within the classroom, and it leads to more openness in the classroom. These aspects are important towards my journey as a multicultural educator because it leads me to reflect on my own life and apply what I know about my cultures into my life. This leads me to teaching students to be more open and allowing them to have a broader perspective of the world around them. And by showing that being vulnerable in the classroom is important, and that it is okay to be wrong or not know certain things, it will lead to a more effective conversation within the classroom, which I think is important. And I will model humility and vulnerability by reflecting on my own perspectives in order to try to understand other cultures. I need to be more vulnerable in the fact that my thinking might not always be the correct way of thinking, and that I need to embrace the discomfort that comes with these topics.